Imagine living in constant fear that you're not going to be able to make ends meet, constant fear that you're not going to be able to pay your bills on time, constant fear that you're not going to be able to afford to eat that week, or constant fear that if you have dependents, you're not going to be able to afford to help them thrive the way you want them to. Now, I've spent hours upon hours researching the topic I'm going to be speaking about today, so I'm confident that I will be able to provide you with accurate information on the topic. Today, we will be discussing the current problems that the subminimum wage is causing and how I believe we can fix it. The current subminimum wage is $2.13 per hour. Let's say you only work for 1 hour, you might be able to afford a candy bar and that would be it. Now, I think we can all agree that this wage is by no means suitable. But not all states pay their tipped workers the same. The U.S. Department of Labor's 2025 report, titled Minimum Wages for Tipped Employees, informs us that 24 out of the 50 states pay their tipped workers less than $3 per hour. In addition to this, it also informs us that 35 out of the 50 states paid their tipped workers less than $5 per hour. Now, this is still also not suitable. This causes an extreme reliance on tips to be able to get them up from that very small amount. This heavy reliance on tips causes numerous problems, far more than you would actually think. The first one being financial insecurity. Now, you may be wondering, how is it causing financial insecurity? Because they're still making money, they're still making tips. So, why are they worrying about money? Well, Samarjima, in their 2024 article, published by Policy Review at Berkeley, entitled Why Tipped Employees Deserve a Higher Minimum Wage, informs us that a fluctuation in shift times and or hours can create a fluctuation in tips as well. So if you work a different day than you may have last week, you may be making a different amount of money. And because you have no clue how much money you're going to be making because of this shift fluctuation, you can't really budget, which causes financial insecurity and in turn also causes high levels of stress and anxiety. Now, another problem that heavy reliance on tips also causes is that servers are forced to put up with harassment. Servers put up with harassment on an almost daily basis. They have to deal with rude and or inappropriate behavior from customers just to be able to make enough money to be able to live off of. Another problem that the heavy reliance on tips causes is that it creates a heavy burden on consumers. Whenever you go to get food, you think, hey, I can afford the food, but sometimes you don't factor in that you have to pay for the tip, or you are expected to pay at least a 15% tip. Now, consumers are starting to feel that they are paying the wages of servers for the employers. If we do not fix this current system that I think we can all tell isn't really working, all of these problems are going to continue. So now I would like to propose my solution. I believe that the current subminimum or tipped minimum wage should be raised to at least the federal minimum, which is $7.25 per hour, and that tipping should still be kept intact. A lot of people think that you should get rid of tipping if you raise the subminimum wage, but I disagree with this. In Garcia's 2024 study, which was published by ScholarWorks, entitled The Effect of Subminimum Wage on the Service Industry, a look into the impacts of the service wage gap, we are informed that you can't just raise the subminimum wage. You also have to keep tips, because otherwise the server's wage still may not be substantial. Because if you're only making $7.25 per hour, you're still only making roughly $15,000 per year, which is very hard to live off of. Now, what will my solution actually achieve? Samarjima points out that higher minimum wage equates to better service. So, servers who are getting paid more are also providing customers with better service. So, that is one of the pluses of this. Another thing that it helps with is a more stable income for the servers. Since they don't have to worry as much about the tips, it reduces their stress and anxiety because it reduces their financial insecurity. Now, another thing that it helps with is that servers will no longer be forced to deal with harassment. I'm sure that there will still be people who are rude and or inappropriate, but they will not have to put up with this behavior just to make enough tips to barely make a living. And then the last thing that helps it with is that the burden will be taken off of consumers. They will still be allowed to tip, but they will no longer be expected to, which means they will no longer feel that they are paying the servers' wages for the employers. In addition to this, Gold and Cooper state in their 2018 article titled 7 Facts About Tipped Workers and the Tipped Minimum Wage that the restaurant industry does better when things are fairer. So in states where there are fair wage or labor laws, servers do better and the entire restaurant industry does better. So if we make the sub minimum the same as the federal minimum, that will create wage equality, which will help the restaurant industry. Now, as much as I would like to say that everything with my solution is a positive, I must note that a study done by Jones and published by Census.gov in 2016, entitled Measuring the Effects of the Tipped Minimum Wage Using W-2 Data, informs us that raising the minimum wage may in turn make it so that employers have to fire some of their servers because they can no longer pay for their new wages. But I believe that this can actually be counteracted by the fact that since a higher minimum wage equals better service. So whenever you're being paid more, servers are providing you with better service, so more people are wanting to come in and spend money, so there's a higher potential profit, which will make it so that employers will be able to actually pay this wage difference. Now, I think I have adequately shown that my solution will help both servers and the consumers, as well as the restaurant industry itself. Now, if you take anything from the speech, I want you to remember that the current subminimum wage is not truly suitable, but I am certain that it can be fixed with the solution that I have proposed. Now, I hope that you all have a better understanding of the problems that come with the current subminimum wage, and I would like to thank you all for listening.